Boy. Okay, Thor. Stay. Up. Sit. Stay. Okay, break. Good job. Good job, buddy. This is definitely a challenging one, especially in a new place. All right, this video is just going over threshold training. So threshold training is the practice of having your pup sit and stay until they are invited through the door after you using break or okay. So the way you're going to go about this is, for example, we're using the front gate here. I also use my front door. I also use the gates from my smaller backyard to the larger yard. I don't use the back door, which we touched on in potty training. And that's just because if the puppy needs to go potty, when we're taking them out the back door or whatever your designated potty door is, there's a risk of an accident. And potty training just takes priority in the beginning. Once he is 100% potty trained and he's gone a few weeks without an accident, then you can start using all doors, including the back door. But for now, just the front door. You can do it with internal doors too if you want. But what we'll do is, Thor, touch. Yes, sit. Yes, stay. We'll have him sit. We'll tell him stay. We'll open the door. Then you're going to walk through first. Then you'll release him. Break. Good job. And then he can follow you out. And this is super important for several reasons. The first one, as you may have guessed, is for safety. It helps reduce the risk of door dashing. Door dashing is where a puppy, they see the door slightly open and they try to go darting out to go on a big adventure or get a head start on your walk or whatever the case may be. And of course, that is just super dangerous. It's every dog owner's worst nightmare. So we want to make sure he's really in the practice of every single time he leaves the house, he has to sit and stay and be invited through the door. The other reason this is so important is it's just a really great practice in impulse control. Stay and impulse control is just kind of one of those things where you'll need to set aside some time for. But the more we can build that into your daily routine, the better off he will be. So this is a really good opportunity every single time you go out for a walk or you go for a car ride with them. We're going to practice threshold training. And like I said, you want to do it on your way back in too. And just internal doors are just as appropriate to use as well. And the third reason this is important is there's just several ways that we can communicate with a dog in a way they naturally understand that we have their back and we are in charge of their safety and they will be safe in our hands as long as they stay focused and they follow along with us and not the other way around. So by walking through doors first or doing something as subtle as standing slightly ahead, we can communicate that to our dog, which is so important. Basically, what we're doing is we're establishing the role that we each play within our relationship. Now, not to be confused with dominance theory or power dynamics. Those are some quite outdated ways of thinking in terms of dog training, but still every once in a while you hear a trainer say it. But it's not about dominating your dog. We're not overpowering them in any way. It's just making sure that they understand safety-wise and order-wise, who's going to go through the door first and that they are protected by us. And everything we do is really subtle. It's just body language and positioning, but never kind of inflicting any kind of dominance over them. So just to be really clear about that, but it can be such a huge help, especially when it comes to things like avoiding leash reactivity. That's a really big one. And then also even things like separation anxiety sometimes stem from them thinking it's their job to protect you. And then when they can't see you, then it makes it really hard to do that. So we want to make sure that, we are doing everything that we can to communicate to him that it's not his job to protect us. We don't do any protection work here at Puppy Prep. We are just in the business of helping to raise well-rounded members of the family. So we're going to keep them safe, not the other way around, and we want to communicate that appropriately. One of my favorite examples of the power of threshold training was a foster dog I once had. He was really good at the shelter with all people, but as soon as he got in my home with me and my Great Dane Quinn, he became severely reactive on leash. And I was living in New York City at the time, so it was really challenging because there's just not the space to get away from people. So it was a pretty big safety risk. So what we did is just really looked at it from a psychological standpoint. He was a very, very submissive dog despite being reactive, but he was very protective over me and Quinn. So I started going through every single door first. I mean, like the door out of my bedroom to my living room. Then I also used the door from my apartment to the hallway, to the elevator, to the couple doors it took to get out of my building. all of that was being used as a threshold exercise. And then I also made a very strong point to stand in front of him. And it really only took a couple weeks, and he was really, really great. I mean, we did some other command work and training and confidence building, but truly the biggest difference was just making sure he understood that that was not his role. It was not his job. It was not his burden to carry, to protect me. I had his back, and he, being an insecure dog, it really helped him to understand that I was in charge of that and not him, and he was super safe with me. So super, super important. I highly recommend practicing threshold training every single time you go out for a walk, out for a car ride, etc. It'll make a really, really big difference for Thor's training and really help him with the impulse control too.